You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, welcome to another episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know that safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. We got a great show for you tonight. A lot to talk about. We got a lot of shenanigans already afoot out there in the election sphere. We can talk about that tonight. But first, I want to welcome everybody: Willie Everett, Michael Henn, Bill C., Cat Dog, Vera Hudden, Jason T.G. Sponsler. Hey, we appreciate you. And for those of you that are tuning in that haven't said hello, make sure you guys say hello. Yeah, man, we got a lot of stuff going on out there. Yeah, Washington 03, definitely vote Kent. Great dude. Chris Rouse, good to see you, buddy. You're over there shamming out at work. I'm at work. Yeah, it's just me tonight. Summer had to take Noah to wrestling practice, so I'm sorry. You guys just got to put up with me tonight. Lloyd, good to see you. Exactly. Nobody cares, Chris. Nobody cares. No, we do. We miss you, Chris. Wish you were here, buddy. You always add a lot to the show. So, Trump in the garbage truck today was classic. I didn't see that one, Tonto. I have to check that out. I was busy all day today doing a multitude of things. Yeah, so I was kind of out of touch with media in general today. So, first of all, we got Sean back there. Sean, how was your week?
It was pretty good. Thank you. Good.
Yeah, so again, we got the election coming up, and by the way, folks, we are going to be doing a live election coverage on Tuesday. I don't know how late we'll stay up. Probably start around 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that. We got to stay up, figure out what's going on, and keep our eyes on things. And I don't know. I think it's going to be curious to see what happens this election, to say the least. I'm definitely curious to hear you guys' thoughts tonight about, number one, what we think is going to happen as far as the election goes, and then play out some different scenarios. What happens if Trump wins? What happens if Harris wins? It's almost too scary to even think about. But we also have Halloween going on tomorrow. We're definitely going to keep you guys involved tonight. So you guys will be reading your comments, answering your questions and things like that. So right now, I don't know how you guys feel about the polls, but Sean, if you will, throw up the Real Clear Politics poll. Right now, we're looking at Trump winning by less than 0.5%. That's what we have for the Real Clear Politics. It's really strange to me how all these left-wing, these left-wing publications are always there's such a huge gap what they got going on there. I like Rasmussen. Rasmussen Reports is a poll that I've been following for a long time. They're generally on point, and usually that whatever they got going on ends up being pretty close to the truth. Man, I just have a hard time believing anything that these reports are saying. And on top of that, I have a hard time believing that Kamala is even close to Trump. Just seeing what's going on in the country and everything else. So, there's that. But yeah, I don't know how you guys felt about the Madison Square Garden event that has now been labeled a Nazi rally. That's been pretty crazy. If you will, Sean, just go ahead and throw back up yep, there you go. Throw that back up. But careful what you say, Gary. Summer's telling me to be careful what I say. I do. I got to be careful. She's out and about. I know she's watching. She's always watching. She is omnipresent, omnipotent, always there. One thing I do want to say, because we just got another shipment of these in, it is, hoodie season. Make sure you guys go get your Paramount hoodie. That's gonna keep you warm all winter long. It's gonna be like Gary's big ginger arms wrapped around you, keeping you nice and warm when it's cold out there. I think, if you really close your eyes and think about it late at night, you can even feel my beard kind of brushing up against the back of your head. Fire by friction. I live in San Diego. I'm seeing 5-1 more Trump signs in the front yard than Skamoa. Man, I'm going to have a hard time believing anything but a landslide victory for Trump. I think so many people are just completely sick of the policies of Biden and Harris, what we have for inflation, what we have for just the complete rising cost of everything, sending our jobs overseas. People are just sick of it. They're sick of what's going on. They're sick of our country being sold out. They're sick of our country being invaded by illegal immigrants. And we see what's going on now. Here we have Virginia. Well, we actually have the Department of Justice fighting to keep illegal immigrants on the voting rolls in Virginia. And that had to be taken all the way to the Supreme Court to actually get those names removed. And these were people that self-identified. They self-identified saying, hey, we are illegal immigrants. We're not eligible for voting. And yet the Department of Justice ended up suing Virginia for removing them from the voter registration. So that's pretty crazy. I was just looking at a news report today, just a few minutes ago, talking about Michigan, what's going on in Michigan. Right now, there was like 160 something thousand additional votes that weren't supposed to be there. Most of those going one way. I saw one in Wayne County, which happens to be the county I was actually born in, which is the county that Detroit's in. But there was one voter registration that had like 50 votes under that one voter registration number. So we already see what's going on out there. We see it in broad daylight. I think, this is something that we've covered in the past and I think needs to be understood. The problem with voter fraud and election fraud is it is extreme. The way that we have our current laws when it comes to the lack of voter IDs, the lack of election integrity, it is extremely easy to pull off election fraud, and it's very difficult to prove. And it's really difficult to prove when you have a media that has no curiosity in it whatsoever. They're just going to turn a blind eye, and they're going to call you a conspiracy theorist for even saying that anything like that could possibly happen. We know that our elections are not secure. We know that we have no real election integrity until we get some sort of voter ID system in place. It's just not going to happen. So I think this is probably the most pivotal election of my lifetime. I think there's a lot on the line with this. I think no matter, even if Trump does win, we still got a lot of work to do. I think all we're doing is putting a pause button on the end of our country. And hopefully, depending on who Trump puts in there and depending on what happens in the follow-on elections, I think is really what's going to determine the future of our country. So it'll be interesting to see. And we'll definitely have live coverage on Tuesday. Let's definitely throw up some questions, comments, anything that you see in particular there, Sean. Start adding some. Trump will win. Votes will show up late. They will count them. It will be a shit show. Yeah, that's one thing I don't understand this. Just going back a couple of years ago, early 2000s, when we were still primarily had paper ballots, we would know by Wednesday, with the exception of the 2000 election, Gore v. Bush, Bush v. Gore, rather. Other than that, we would typically know the following day when we had paper ballots. Now we have all these computerized machines. We have early voting out the yin yang. We have all these things that should expedite the tally, right? We should have results much, much sooner. And yet it takes much longer. And I think, to me, it's pretty obvious what this is one of the things somebody was asking me the other day about early voting. Now we're here in West Virginia. I think we're going to be like 90%, for Trump. So it's really not a concern of mine, but I am very suspicious of early voting. I think what early voting does is it gives them a heads up of the difference that they got to make up, or it gives them a heads up of whether or not they need to commit fraud to begin with. And then if they do, it allows them to get those tallies out a little bit sooner so that they can have a plan and they can execute that plan. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist, but I don't know about you guys. I lived through the 2016 election. I think we all know what happened there. And when it comes to early voting, these drop off ballot box, all this stuff, man, it's set up so that they can commit fraud. And I'm tired of pretending otherwise. And I'm tired of people gaslighting us, telling us, because we want voter ID, we're racist. Because we want in-person voting, we're racist, or any of this other nonsense. It's just the dumbest argument. And the only reason that you do not want voter ID laws, the only reason is so that you can commit election fraud. That's it, period. We'll see what happens. Polls are used to manipulate votes. I agree. Well, they're used to manipulate votes. The other thing that I think they're doing, the other thing I think these polls do is they prep the objective, right? So they're preparing people for, let's say in reality, there's a landslide for Trump. But, if there's these polls that are saying otherwise, that are saying it's close, then we're setting people up so that it's less likely that they're going to challenge what is apparent fraud, right? So if all these polls said Trump is 15 points ahead, and then suddenly, on election night, come to find out, Kamala wins, that's a real problem. That's a pretty hard thing to justify. But, and I think that's the main purpose of polls. It's prepping the objective, is saying, oh, it was always close. As a matter of fact, in a lot of these polls, Kamala was set up to win, and she ended up winning. So, you guys are just upset that you lost, and now you're going to, attempt another insurrection because you lost. Which, again, that's another nonsense item that I'm tired of hearing about, and it's so dumb. It's just dumb. I think we should make voting day a national holiday and make it a personal voting only. I agree with that. I think it should be a national holiday. If we can give up some of these other holidays and make voting a national holiday. Everybody gets paid day off, go vote. I'm completely down with that. Sadly, I would assume the Democratic Marxist Party has already assembled their lawyers to challenge the count in every swing state. Absolutely. And hopefully Trump does too. Hopefully Trump has his lawyers on standby and is ready to take action. And that's the thing. And I think that's one of the things, regardless of what you want to say about Trump and all his faults or whatever else, but the reason that he appeals to so many of us is because we know that he's not going to be one of these limp-wristed politicians that we have on the Republican Party, that if and when we know that there's fraud taking place, he's going to stand up to it. He's going to say it, and he's going to voice the things that we know to be true as well. Whereas even so many in the Republican Party, they know what took place in 2016, but they're so afraid of what the media is going to say. And Trump doesn't care. And that's exactly who we need in that office right now. And just being able to stand up to the media and not care what everybody thinks, and say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done, and fight. And that's why we all like Trump. That's what it comes down to. You already hit that one. Well, while we're looking at some comments, a couple of things I do want to announce that are kind of fun. I will be doing throwing on this camera right here. So we just got in the SG Pulse, folks. I'll show you for my long range shooters out there. All right, so this works just like the LRA Syndicate level. It is very bright. It works just like so again, it goes green once it's level, right? The other thing that you need to know about this is, with the LRA Syndic level, you had to pay another 60. Number one, the LRA Syndic level is about $225. And then on top of that, if you wanted to change the orientation, you had to buy. So if you wanted to set that to where it was vertical on your gun, you're going to spend another $65 for a mount. The cool thing about this is that you get a mount that mounts vertically or horizontally in the package. Has a lot of great features that I'm going to end up doing a full video on this, but I'm letting you guys know because we just got a shipment of this. I have been testing this thing out for about 2 months. Been extremely impressed with it. The app works with it. The app will actually tell you once you have this mounted to your gun, and if you have the app videoing you, number one, it'll give you your split times. It works like a shot timer. You can actually connect this to the SG shot timers. And on top of that, it will show you your declination, what angle you're at when you're firing. I mean, it has a whole suite of capabilities that the LRA Syndic level doesn't. But this thing is about $150. So go to our website, ParamountTactical.com. A video will be up on them very soon. The only negative to this, put it back in my camera. The only negative to this that I have found, and there is one, and there's negatives with all of them, but the only negative to this is that there is a proprietary charging cable that I wish they didn't have. But you get 50 hours of battery life with this. It is rechargeable. Keep track of that cord. Other than that, man, this thing is 10 times more capable than the LRA Syndic level. I actually like the fact that it is one solid color as opposed to multiple blinking lights. Those get a little weird sometimes. But again, once you get this thing level, it turns green. You can adjust the sensitivity. You can adjust the brightness in the app. There's a lot of things that this does that the LRA Syndic level doesn't, and they're on our website right now. We just got them in. Go get yours. It's a much better value. You're getting so much more than the LRA Syndic level. I think the LRA Syndic level is great. I got them on all my guns. I paid for them. But I'll tell you, this does a lot more. The only downside to it is that it does have a proprietary charging cable. I wish it was just a C cable. That would have been so much better. So SG, you guys need to fix that. Shooters Global. But other than that, great product. Go buy it. And a lot of cool capabilities with that. The other thing that I want to show you guys real quick, we got these in. I've been meaning to do a video, and I will eventually when I have time. But we are in the training season is kind of over. I'll have a little bit more time to shoot more content. So I'm actually looking forward to that because I'm way behind. But what we did get in was the Surefire and the Microtech collaboration. This is the Luminary set. So you get the Stiletto Pro. There's only 1,500 sets of these being made. We have several of those in stock. You get the Stiletto Pro 2. You can look up that flashlight. And then on top of that, you get the very special edition Microtech, the Luminary, which has their new action. I mean, just a freaking beautiful knife. These aren't cheap, but I'm telling you right now, if you know anything about Microtech, and I didn't realize this even when we became a dealer, folks, the collectors of Microtech are nuts. This is something I promise you will only go up in value. It's a really cool thing to have, and on top of that, it ends up being a good investment. So, really cool set. Whether you're going to use it or just keep it, comes in this Nanic case. Go check that out as a great Christmas gift for yourself or for a loved one. So, go get all your Christmas gift gear at ParamountTactical.com. Let's scroll down a little bit. Vera said very few people know how to pronounce the last name. So, fair enough. I-75 in Michigan headed for South Carolina. Lots of Trump signs in Michigan, Ohio. Man, I'm telling you right now, the Midwest in general is Trump country. I'm even talking to my dad. My dad still lives in Dearborn Heights. Again, I think them trying to tell us that it's even close with Harris, even in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. I went to the second Butler Trump rally. It was crazy. Well over 100,000 people there. Absolutely nuts. So, some heavy duty evacuation drills going on at the White House. I saw. I didn't see that. I don't doubt it. I know they're gonna act like. They're going to act like you're going to have a bunch of right-wing folks storm the Capitol, which didn't happen in the first place. But what did happen though, is we had a lot more people, a lot more of the DC police and Secret Service injured. And they even had to take President Trump down into the bunker because they were worried about the BLM riots. We also had St. John's Church get caught on fire. So that was far worse. Those BLM riots that happened in DC were far worse than what took place on January 6th. So I'm just so sick of hearing about it. And, that's that. I work in the commercial print industry. We supply all the ballots for our state. I don't understand why they don't audit the records for who provides the ballot. So here's what I will say. Laura Trump is, what is she? Co-chair of the RNC. Man, she has been on it. Unlike Ronna McDaniel, that was running things last election, which was she was absolutely worthless. But one of the things and that's how they found out about all these duplicate or additional votes that shouldn't be there. Basically, they said, hey, they only had like 180,000 people in the county or whatever it was on the voter registration, but they had 160,000 more votes than they had actually people registered. So that's happening in Michigan. I'm sure it's happening in all these other battleground states. And that's the thing. That's where the voter fraud takes place. It doesn't need to be, millions upon millions of votes. It needs to be just the right amount of votes in just the right places. That's what changed the election last time. And and they know. And again, it's one of those things that's very easy to pull off, very hard to get caught. And a lot of these people that are caught aren't even prosecuted. And not only that, the people that are caught, these are just, peons. These are pawns. The real people pulling the strings and making these things happen and coordinating these events. Those people are so far detached that it's never going to be tied back to them anyhow. So the few people that might get caught doing it, it's going to be inconsequential. And then the media is going to say that, this person that committed this voter fraud over here and this possible voter fraud over here, none of this was connected. And of course it was. And it is. Jeff Costin, which item?
Summer's talking to him.
Okay. All those items are at ParamountTactical.com. This one is like $150. This one, you'd have to go. It's not cheap. I want to say it's go to Paramount. I want to say it's like $1,500. But it's a collaboration of Surefire and Microtech. So take that for what it is. Neither one of those are cheap. Too bad Pelosi didn't take the National Guard when offered. Absolutely. Completely. Nancy Pelosi's, it was 100% her responsibility for the security during January 6th. And she completely dropped the ball on that. That's her fault. Never has been put on her other than the fact that her daughter somehow released a video for actually saying that, but then the news media completely covered that up. I'm curious how many of you actually watched or listened to the Joe Rogan podcast with President Trump. That was pretty interesting. First 30 minutes were kind of boring. After that, I got pretty good. I'm hoping it's not going to happen, but I'm hoping that Harris will go on Rogan. I would love to see her sit there and talk for 2 hours straight, 3 hours straight to Rogan. She won't, but it would be interesting to see. My biggest gripe about the Republican Party over the years has been how they bend over and take whatever. Absolutely. They've just been weak sauce time and time again. I think that's whether they realize it or not. I think that's what most people's problem with the Republican Party. They're so weak. And here's the problem. The real issue is not that they're weak. The real issue is that they're complicit. And this is why so many of the Republicans, especially behind closed doors, even the ones that are still in power, absolutely hate Trump. He's exposing them for what they are. The Lindsey Grahams out there. These people are just, they're I hate even saying the word rhino, but they're definitely rhinos. They're collaborating with Democrats. All they care about is getting out there, pretending to fight Democrats and their policies. And I mean, look all the nonsense they pulled with Obamacare, talked so tough, talked all this stuff they were going to do. They never did. Never did. And they never really even tried. They didn't even put forth any real effort.
Let's see here. M81 Bravo said the problem with drop boxes is they spontaneously combust.
Well, that is a problem. You know, so if you guys haven't seen, I think there was at least 2 somewhere in California of the ballot drop boxes that caught on fire. The interesting part of that is, you know, those are most likely, I don't think there's too many Republicans putting their ballots in drop boxes. Could be wrong, but you know, ironically, that does kind of make the point of how unsecure that they are. And if you want to disenfranchise voters, you know, have their votes put in a drop box and it catches on fire. You don't even know who voted. Like, how can you fix that? How can you remedy that? There's no remedy. You just have to write off those votes. I mean, what are you going to let them vote again? Like, oh, I think I dropped my ballot in that drop box that caught on fire. I don't know when the pickup was. I don't know if those ballots were, you know, picked up on Thursday, Friday, you know, like there's no accountability of those ballots. So therefore there's no remedy. Like you have to you're just going to end up saying, oh, those votes don't count because they were never secured.
So
I don't know. It's nuts.
That was actually National 86 said that. This one's a little off topic, but M81 Bravo, he also wanted to ask if you had already talked about the DoD directive.
I'm assuming these are on Rumble.
Yeah, these are on Rumble. But he said,
is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
But he wants to know, it's a little off topic, but if you've talked about or thought about DoD Directive 524001.
I haven't talked about it. I've seen it briefly. I don't want to get out over my skis on that, but apparently that directive essentially is authorizing use of deadly force essentially against protesters. And we know what protesters they're talking about. They're not going to be the BLM protesters. They're going to be Republican protesters. So, you know, I definitely need to look into that more, but I haven't had a time. And I mean, I don't think it surprises anybody. I don't think they clearly, you know, clearly they need that authorization on January 6th, or Ashley Babbitt would still be alive. So I think that's kind of a moot point and just kind of a weird, tyrannical show of force, if anything. Yeah, Brian, I'm with you, man. It just, you know, it just always seems like they don't. Every time we have all 3 branches there, it just seems like we just piss it away. So we'll see what's going on with that. Not 3 branches, but the Congress and the White House. Saddest thing I saw lately on an off-road motorcycle ride, vets for Harris. No, we are not. Like, there are very few vets for Harris. Let's just be real. There are definitely some. You know, that's one thing that I've talked a little bit about in the past too. I was a little bit shocked. You know, when I was in the infantry, when I was at the 101st, like everybody was Republican, right? I don't care who you, everybody in the battalion, you know, everybody was Republican. And when I got to SF, it was kind of weird because, like, even on my team, strangely enough, you know, this is during the election. This is where this kind of first came up. We were actually in Iraq in 2008. And I'm telling you, like, half my team shockingly voted for Obama. Couldn't believe it. And we ended up getting into a lot of political discussions, debates, all in good fun, nothing crazy, nothing like we're coming to blows over or anything like that. But it was pretty crazy to me how many more Democrats you definitely see in the ranks of special operations than you would, I would generally say, in like the regular combat arms. I'm sure that has completely changed now. I think that whole demographic has been changed dramatically since I got out in 2012. I want to know the secret Trump talked about at MSG with Matt Gaetz. I didn't see that. I this is like the third time I've heard this referenced. I haven't, Sean, if you can back there, look that up, see if you can figure out what the supposed secret is or what she's even referencing to. Or am, I know we talked a lot on even on email. I don't even know if you're male or female. For some reason, I assumed that you're female. Anywho, secret Matt Gates at I don't know. I have him look that up a little bit. But yeah, I'm not sure what we going on. Oh God. I can't read it if you're on the page there, Sean. There are multiple people posting that they are busing illegals into vote and letting them cut in line behind all the citizens that have been waiting in line. I saw that on the news today as well. That seems crazy to me. Hopefully that was something taken out of context, but it doesn't surprise me at all. The other thing that we're seeing too is I've seen multiple videos on social media of people with Make America Great Again hats being threatened to be arrested if they continue while they're in line to vote. There are electioneering laws in place, and I understand like you can't be advocating, but I will say that definitely, if I was one of those people wearing that hat, I would challenge that. Number one, I would let them arrest me, and number two, that is a clear violation of the First Amendment. Even outside, like, if I want to wear something, if I want to wear, a Trump shirt while I'm in line at the polling station, I don't care what a law says. That law is unconstitutional. Now, I understand you can't be out there campaigning and trying to convince people to vote for one way or another. Get that completely. But, whether I'm wearing a hat or some other apparel that indicates my choice for candidate, that is protected speech as far as I'm concerned. And I do want to throw out the disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's pretty apparent on its face. Throw up Nicodemus there. That's a good one. She didn't take the offer because she knew what she was doing. She's not as dumb as she looks. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think Kamala can be authentic. I think that's the real problem. I don't think she could sit and talk to Joe. And that was another thing that apparently was being discussed, was him going somewhere else to her, which of course, if I was Joe Rogan, I would like, no, you're either coming here. I'm giving you the platform, the largest platform in the country, by the way, in the world. And, if you can't come here and sit with me by yourself in this room for a couple hours without staffers sitting all over the place, like they did with Brett Baer, pound sand, go somewhere else. And I think the other problem is, I think most of us realize that if we did get to know her on a personal level, I don't think that would increase her chances of winning an election. Vera said, is it okay to hand out garbage bags outside a polling place? I have no idea. Don't know. I don't see why there would be a law against that. Probably need to, I don't know. JP says, oh, Josh Sartman, she wanted Rogan to travel to her and only wanted. Yeah, that's what I heard. She only wanted an hour. Yeah, pound sand, lady. How's the 6 Max load development going? I was just talking to somebody today in her shop. Went up there. I was supposed to be there for like 10 minutes and being stuck up there for like 2.5, 3 hours. And I was just talking to him about that. Folks, the more that I mess with 6 Max, the more that I love it. I'm going to end up doing a full review on the Sons of Liberty Gunworks broadsword, the rifle itself. I'll talk a little bit more about 6 Max, but here's what you need to know about 6 Max. And this is what's typically true of all the 6 millimeter cartridges. I don't care if we're talking about 60 BR dash or whatever else. And I know this is not in that same category of cartridge, but the fact is that they've just been stupid easy to load. I've literally done nothing other than load to velocity that I wanted, and then seating depth, which is just the cartridge overall length of 2.3 inches, which is the mag. Excuse me. I'm basically just loading to mag length. So, and man, they've just shot perfectly out of that gun. So I think I've been excited about it, and the more I mess with it, I'm trying. I actually have a couple different loads over there with some different projectiles I'll be playing with. But so far, everything from 105 grain Hornady bow to hollow point, the Hornady ELDXs. You guys saw that video. Man, it just shoots lights out. And one thing that I did notice in that video, or I didn't notice when I was shooting, but I did notice it in the video. I think when I was shooting, I was probably on like 8 power shooting at 700 yards. So I didn't see the impacts, but watching that video, man, all of those rounds are like in an inch group at 700 yards. And that was me shooting unsupported off of a barricade. So pretty impressive. The long range capabilities of that round, the reliability of that round, and so far how easy it is to load. And by the way, we do have commercial ammo in stock, both 90 grain ELDX and the 105 Botel hollow points as well. So go check those out. Yeah, Kurt, there you go. Kurt was there. He was asking me what we're going to talk about tonight. See, Kurt? Yeah, I love that round. I really do. It's everything 5.56 should be, with just a lot more long range capability. I mean, it is, whether you're shooting on a short barrel, again, go watch Ray Helm's video. He's got some videos on that. He's shooting it out of a 10-inch. He's shooting at 700 yards. He's smacking steel with a 10-inch 6 max at like 700 yards. And then he throws that thing on full auto and still out of the same gun. So a lot of capabilities there. Of course, if you want a DMR rifle, which I'm looking at mine over there, I think 18 inches to 20 inches is probably most optimal, but you're going to get a lot of performance out of a 16, a 14.5. And they're coming out with more and more companies are making barrels for them. And that's the great thing about that cartridge, is like all you got to do is change the barrel. You don't have to change the bolt, don't have to do anything. All you're doing is changing the barrel, and now you have a lot more capabilities as far as distance that you can actually engage targets effectively with than 5.56, while still having a small frame gas gun. That's really cool. And that's something that you're not getting out of the 6-ARC. And I don't even want to pit those two against each other. But the fact of the matter is that there's been major issues with 6-ARC when it comes to reliability. You're not going to be shooting that fast. You're not going to be shooting it on full auto. The 6-ARC long range capability is right there with 6 Max, although I do think the 6 Max has a couple of grains more capacity than the 6-ARC. So, take that for what it's worth.
You want to go down the rabbit hole? The first.
I love rabbit holes. Let's do it.
Yeah, you're going to like this one. Hold on. Where is it? Here it is.
Secret Service sniper testified that they were under fire during the first assassination attempt. I haven't seen that. I do think they thought they were under fire, Dean. I think that's pretty obvious. That's why those guys, the team 1, freaking was flinching. That's why they jumped down. People thought they were shooting. That was recoil. It was clearly not. So I don't doubt that they thought that. I think also that those additional rounds that we don't necessarily have full accountability for from Crooks after he shot the first 3 at Trump. So, those additional, 5 rounds, whatever it was, those were probably directed at Secret Service. So take this for what it's worth. I haven't seen the testimony. I have to kind of put that in context. No offense to you, Deemer. I'm not pointing you out, but I'm just saying I always have to be careful. Every time I see a statement from somebody on social media especially about that, right? Like, For instance, and here's what's going on in my mind right now, Dean. Dean, I'm reading, Secret Service snipers testify that they were under fire during the first assassination attempt. That's what you're saying. And then I go and read it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just giving you an example here. And then I go read their testimony, and it'll go something like, yeah, those first few shots, it sounded like they were so close. I thought I was being shot at, something along those lines. But so what actually happened and what's being the inference there is something completely different. And that's what I've had. I'll be honest with you. This whole assassination attempt has in covering that, I enjoyed it, but I'll tell you, I'm a little jaded because it's a little crazy out there. It gets a little nuts when there's clearly certain evidence there, and then there's other. I'm not saying, there's evidence that is true, and then there's these other possibilities, but there's no evidence for those other possibilities. And the point is, you can't prove or disprove, but then people point to so many weird things that is proof in their mind of other things. Look, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm almost tired of talking about the Trump assassination. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I don't think it was an assassination attempt, Vera, if I remember correctly, and this is something that came out, is that apparently Ukrainian operatives put out a hit on Tucker Carlson. If I remember correctly, and I had heard about this several months ago. He talked about it again on another podcast. I think he was talking with Dorn. Anyways, he brought that back up. Jimmy Dorn. So I do think that there was not necessarily an attempt on his life, but that he was informed that there were Ukrainian operatives that basically they'd put a hit on him. And that was something that he's like, hey, this is true. I'm not going to he said, I haven't talked about it before. I'm not talking about it now, but I'll just say that is absolutely true. And I was told that by our own intelligence agencies. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to leave that there. They're playing the mask game again in Washington. I don't know what are you saying, that they're making people wear masks? It doesn't surprise me. Robert Oland, he has already voted R. Yeah, folks, get out there and vote. Don't just get out there and vote. That's all I can say. It's so important. I guess, and maybe I'm wrong, and you guys take this. This is just pure speculation on my part when it comes to the early voting conspiracy that I have for that. With that, basically, I think that early voting is a system that allows them to figure out what votes they need to make up easier. I would encourage people that are in battleground states to go vote on election day in person if you can. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that, but I think that is definitely one of the safest bets, providing you get there on time, providing they don't play any games and shut down polls. But if for some reason you can't get there on election day, definitely go vote early. I think, this is like the only time of year I wish I lived in another state other than West Virginia, given this, very awesome gun laws and everything else, and that we're a very Republican state. But, at the end of the day, we're going to be like 80+% for Trump, and it really doesn't matter. But in other states, it does. So, which, when you think about that, that's definitely one of the strategies of the left as well. That's why we have so many of the left move into these other states. And that's also why we have the left strategically dumping illegal immigrants into these battleground states as well. So, but I digress. John Esmond says,
okay. Do you want to go down that rabbit hole now?
What? What was that other comment that you had up? I missed it.
So a gentleman named Nick, he was just saying that it was his first time being able to vote, and I just thought that was cool that he was happy about it.
Awesome, Nick. Just remember, well, I won't even say that. Hopefully you're voting for Trump, Nick. I'm sure if you're on this podcast, you are. But either way, regardless of who you're voting for, go vote. I want people to be able to vote their personal beliefs. And if you want someone like Harris running the country, go vote for her. If you want someone not like Harris voting for running the country, go vote for Trump.
That's the one you're looking at before.
I'm wanting to put together a food storage program. What brands do you have experience with or would recommend? Mountain House has been recommended to me. We are a Mountain House dealer just for that reason. By far the best tasting freeze-dried food that I've ever had. I'm looking at cases over there right now of it. I believe it's on our website. So yeah, Mountain House, I think they're the best. And go to ParamountTactical.com. Get your Mountain House today. Another thing that we don't talk about as much, we used to put a little more emphasis. We used to put together, which we need to do again. The problem is we lost the location. We had a great venue for doing some family survival courses, and these are not really survival courses. They're more like camping, but teaching people how to procure food, water treatment, food preparation, how to start a fire, how to build shelters. Really fundamental stuff. I won't even say basic stuff, but fairly basic. Nothing crazy, but making sure that people left much more capable and more prepared than when they arrived. And a lot of fun too, man. I love those courses. The kids have so much fun. We got to find another venues where we can start running those courses again. So, but anyways, the point being is that there is a water purification. I think they're on our website. By far the best out there. It's Rapid Pure. It's a filtration system that actually removes viruses and as well as bacteria. A lot of the filtration systems out there will remove bacteria. They do not remove viruses, whereas the Rapid Pure does remove viruses, and they have a much higher flow rate. They have some really unique technology for purification. They have everything from like water bottles to, larger systems, and they're extremely affordable, super affordable. So I highly recommend that you guys go check those out. Again, I believe those are on our website. If they're not, we need to get them back up there. There's some other stuff on there as far as, some basic preparation for everything from the Mountain House foods to fire starting kits and devices that I highly recommend. And as well as part of being prepared is having medical supplies, medical training. So, I plan on, likely we'll have another medical course up on the schedule during the winter. But if you haven't taken one of our medical courses or another reputable company's medical course, man, that's step one. Everybody wants to jump into firearms, but you're most likely to save a life by providing traumatic injury response, having the correct tools, knowing how to use them, knowing in the order of which to treat them, all those things, extremely important. And that is part of being prepared as well, especially in emergency situations where, things go crazy. EMS isn't coming. If they do, it's going to be hours, and you don't have hours. What else we got going on? Let's do the Pig River during the XP Academy. That would be a blast to camp there. I agree. And they actually got a good water source. You know what, Jason? That's not actually a bad idea. Pig River actually would be a pretty good facility to do that. I don't know that we'll do it during the XP Academy, but it would be a great facility to do that.
I'm looking through it. Looks like we hit most of the big ones.
Sweet.
Definitely make sure to like this if you're watching it.
Yeah. Hey, make sure you like, subscribe, go down below. Make sure you join our newsletter. Again, we don't spam you guys. We don't sell your content. We don't, if we don't have something relevant and new to put out, we don't try to abuse that. But we do got a lot of cool events coming up. One of the things I'll be doing is we'll be going down this weekend. I'll be talking to the guys down at Spear Mountain. So the weekend before last, I shot, me and Nick Gebhardt from Zero Compromise went and shot the Major Land Sniper Cup. Man, that was just a fantastic thing. We're going to be going out there to that facility, and we're going to be doing some courses out there, more advanced courses. That'll be another level 3 type course, just because of, well, you'll see if you come. But we're definitely going to be running some courses out there. And then I also have some competition ideas in mind that I think we're going to be running out there as well. So we're going to go down there, talk to them Sunday, and see if we can't turn those ideas into reality. And I think we can. So look forward to that as well. There's some pretty cool things with that facility. It's nothing like almost anybody's ever seen. A lot of high angle stuff. So anyways, that's that. Yeah, Brian Savage. I have a telemarketer calling me. Let's see what they have to say. Hello? Hello? He didn't want to be on the podcast. Yeah, Brian said, I would like to do some medical training. Band-Aids aren't helpful for bullets. I have a nice kit, but not full ability to use it. Yeah, utilize it. Yeah, look, a lot of these first aid courses that people take, those are for boo-boos. Boo-boos aren't life-threatening. What we want to teach you is how to treat, stabilize, and preserve life until you can get them to a higher level of care. And the traumatic injuries, stuff that kills people. And most of the, a large majority of people killed in the United States. Number one, what you have to realize is this is a shocking statistic. Between the age of 1 to 44, all right, the healthiest population among us, the most common cause of death is some sort of traumatic injury. Could be, a car accident, a multitude of things. That's the number one cause of death in the most healthiest population. And a majority of those deaths could have been prevented if care was on site. And a lot of that, and that's what we teach. So it's really important. It's the most overlooked. We don't even do a good enough job of marketing those courses and really stressing the importance of those courses. But if you're serious about being prepared, it's great to have guns and all that other stuff. But, when something bad happens and you're laying there and, you have a kid or a loved one and your only option is to sit there and wait for 911 to get there, it's not the way to go about business. And we need to be self-reliant as much as we can. It doesn't take much. It takes a small investment of time and money to get the correct training, and then a small investment of, a good trauma kit. Not, and we're talking about quality tourniquets, understanding how to use those tourniquets, everything from chest seals to pressure bandages, and understanding how to use all that stuff. Hemostatic gauze, understanding how to pack wounds, those types of things, and knowing what to do and what not to do, and how to preserve life. That's what it's about. How about, yeah, we do those. We do that training. For those of you that don't know, she's referencing Adam Kinzinger. They apparently went to try to show off some 2A bona fides by going out to a range, and they were shooting steel at like 2 yards away, and next thing you know, they got spalling, injuring people. And and by the way, they also had tannerite on their shooting bench, like literally right at waist level, just these bags and bags of tannerite. The dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, the only people that shouldn't have guns are liberals. Yeah. Brian says it's not always negligence. You're absolutely right. And Brian, you fall, I don't know what you have for a kit, and you don't have to fill it out or anything, but a lot of people do have these trauma kits. And they have some tourniquets and a bunch of other, accoutrements they bought online, and they have no idea how to use those. And I know most people think, oh, tourniquet's easy to use. Let me tell you something. Probably about 90% of the people that put a tourniquet on, they're putting them on wrong, incorrect, and they're not effective, right? So there's proper ways to use a tourniquet, and there's a lot of different tourniquets out there that absolutely suck. There's also a lot of counterfeit tourniquets out there, even the good ones. Like if you're buying anything on Amazon, like 80% of those tourniquets are going to be counterfeit and they're going to fail you. So you need to understand that. And we go over the different tourniquets that we use, we recommend, why we recommend those. We have, a wide variety of stuff that's going to work on everything from, adults to kids to animals. A lot of different options for you, things that are easy to carry, things that are easy to carry in your person, versus, what you're going to carry in your car or at the house, and have something a little bit more robust on those. But, praise the Lordy. Click that. So no, that was the 6 Max. If you go to our website, not a website, if you go to our YouTube channel, which you're on right now, probably, well, yeah, you're definitely on our YouTube channel. The last video that I put out, I believe, is the 6 Max at the range. I don't know if it was 8-inch group, but what I can tell you, Fraser, is that round was impacting that target in the exact same spot at 700 yards. And again, at the time when I was shooting that, because I was filming it through a spotting scope, and I was obviously behind the gun, and I think I was like 8 power or something like that, really low power, low magnification, and I was shooting it. I didn't see how tight the group was. All I saw was the target move, and then watching the footage as I was editing, I was like, "Holy crap, man! That's hitting it." It's definitely well below 1 MOA for sure at 700 yards, which is impressive out of a gas gun. Getting a gas gun to shoot as well as that thing does is unbelievable. And yeah, I have a lot of different accessories on that. That gun over there with all the accessories and stuff that I have on it, you're probably looking at $7,000 or $8,000. It's no joke. But that the gun itself, just the rifle, is around $2,000, and you don't have to spend that. You can just get an upper, because I can put all those accessories on it and trick it out the way that I have it set up. That's great, but that doesn't change how well that barrel shoots. And that Sons of Liberty Gunworks barrel, that thing is just a hammer. That whole gun is just amazing. And yeah, sure, I have a zero compromise optics on it. I have a bunch of different, aftermarket accessories on it. I have that set up exactly how I want, but none of that makes it shoot tighter groups. So, how impressive those Sons of Liberty rifles are, how impressive the 6 Max is. You put those two things together, you get a rifle that is affordable, is awesome, has a lifetime warranty on it. The Sons of Liberty Gunworks, folks, if you shoot out one of their barrels, they're going to replace it. So you get one free replacement barrel for the life of that rifle. So that's pretty impressive as well. And I love those guys over at Sons of Liberty. They're great folks. We're going to have them on a podcast at some point. If somebody's asking about showing it, yeah, I can't touch a firearm during a live stream, or they'll shut it down. And apparently, even if you touch a firearm part, they'll shut you down, which you guys know what happened a couple of weeks ago. So there's that. What else we got?
Sponsors just asking a general question.
Do you need a gas gun to compete at the event you did? No. There was some people with gas guns. I don't think they did too well. But it's really a bolt gun orient. So we did a lot of shooting at bolt guns, team event. It was a team event. Almost everybody had bolt guns and a pistol. There was a lot of pistol targets that you had to shoot as well. Folks, it was no joke. You're shooting, like there was times where we had 4 minutes. Each shooter had to shoot like 4 to 6 pistol targets, and only one person could go at a time. So, I would go first, shoot my pistol targets. My teammate couldn't load his pistol until I was done shooting. He'd have to get up there, shoot 5 or 6 pistol targets, sometimes multiple times, like 2 rounds each. And then we had to go shoot like 2 to 4 different long range targets each. And again, we weren't shooting simultaneously, shooting individual, and you had like 4 minutes. It was no joke. It was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to do it again. Oh my God. What's up, baby? Pull up a chair. We can share it, Mike. No, I'm not. She's not dressed for a screen. I'm I'm definitely going to do it again. Out of 65 teams, that was the first time that I've ever done that. And out of 65 teams, a lot of those teams being military teams, and I mean SOCOM teams, Army, both the Army marksmanship unit and sniper instructor teams. Definitely a bunch of guys from teams from group, as well as the Marine Corps instructor teams, and many professional shooters. Out of 65, we came in 17th, which I was, I'm not happy with that, but did better than it could have been worse, right? So in the top third, but next year the goal is the top 5, no doubt about it. We definitely can. Knowing what I know now, there were some dumb mistakes that I made just being new, that would be easily remedied, and just a couple of points that I dropped being stupid, would have made a difference in several places in the rankings. So looking forward to shooting that next year. Hopefully we'll get several guys out here to come shoot with us. I'd love to have a bunch of Paramount teams representing, and no matter where you place, I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun. Don't be intimidated by the process. It's going to be great. I agree, Jason. We're going to get a couple of XP Academy teams out there for sure. Elon needs to buy Google. I agree. Elon needs to buy Google, which would obviously include YouTube, without a doubt. Hey, look, there was guys, for those of you talking about the sniper match, there were guys out there shooting like hunting rifles with, I'm not saying there was a lot, but there was at least one guy in our squad. He basically had just a simple duplex reticle, couldn't dial, couldn't hold. And, obviously he didn't do too well, but nobody gave him shit. Everybody was like, cool, man. I'm just glad you showed up. And I really love the atmosphere out there. Next year, we're definitely going to have a tent out there, a booth. We've already talked to them about that. And we're looking at doing some of our own competitions out there, running some competitions of our own design next year. So that'll be cool as well. What else?
That just about sums it up. It seems like nothing new in Rumble, even though we got a lot of people watching.
Yeah, for all our lost boys and girls over on Rumble, thank you for joining us over there. Hopefully one of these days StreamYard will get this integrated, or Rumble will make it to where it can integrate. The other thing that I want to talk about that I think hasn't been talked about enough is I really am glad that RFK Jr. Is going to be, looks like he's going to be in some sort of capacity within the administration. There's a podcast that I recorded that I'll be releasing hopefully in the next few days. I got to finish editing it, and it's definitely branching out into some areas that I thought I never would. But going back to the RFK thing, look, we need to really address big food, big pharma, big ag in this country. Like, we are eating nothing but poison. And one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is the food pyramid, right? So the food pyramid, I don't know when it was launched. I know I've pretty much all through the 80s and 90s, we saw the food pyramid. It was taught in school. One of the biggest atrocities ever put upon the American people. And the food pyramid that was built then, and by the way, they've redone it and it's not much better. But what we have is this food pyramid that said, hey, put an emphasis mainly on carbs. Carbs were healthier than meat, than eggs, all these things, right? And this was done in the name of science. It was done in the name of our government. It was done in the name of health. And, at one point, these are the people that were that had margarine. I remember big tubs of margarine that my dad always ate. And they had like this heart healthy alternative to butter, right? So we have nothing but this big tub of artificial trans fat garbage, and they're saying is healthier for us. And, at one point I thought, well, this is just cronyism, because you had the sugar industry and all these other people pushing off these bad tests on people. And I've rethought that over the last few days. And I think it's much deeper than that. What I think was that was a strategy put upon the American people because they knew what it would turn us into. We have a country that is what, 70-80% obese, something ridiculous like that. Most people in the United States, a large portion of the United States is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. They're addicted to sugars because of what they've done. And by the way, the food pyramid is responsible for millions of people dying, and then more millions upon millions of people being wholly dependent on prescription drugs in one form or the other. And I think that was the strategy. And I think we need to look at and understand that, because, here they are, they intentionally, and there's no way to get around it. No one can ever convince me that they didn't realize what was going on in truth, or B, that they couldn't predict and project the impact that it would have on the American health and our population. And when we look at what they did, they made our entire population sick. And they said, you know what, our biggest problem in the United States is healthcare. And by the way, if you vote for us, you vote a certain way, we will give you free healthcare. So now we're dependent on the government for our healthcare. We're dependent on, all we are is they're keeping us alive, sick, and dependent on both government and drugs. And that was the strategy all along. And when you think about how evil, and there's no other way to put it, how evil that actually is, there's some things that I wouldn't have allowed myself to believe, because I would never believe that, we have people in power that would be that sadistic, that go that far, but they are. And I think there's more to it. And I think that podcast that I'm going to release in a couple of days talks a little bit more about that. I dipped my toe into something that, yeah, man, it's scary. It's scary what we have for leadership. It's scary that so many people for power, and that's what it is. It's not about money. Forget about the whole money thing. It's not about money. Money is a means to power, but it's about power and control over large populations, and that's what they want. And what they're willing to do for power, the millions of people they're willing to sacrifice, people's health, longevity, quality of life, they're willing to sacrifice to make sure that you are dependent upon a government, you're dependent upon drugs by, with, and through the government. It's nuts. And I think hopefully, whether it was COVID, the 2016 election, and just moving forward, hopefully we're having an awakening, a revival of the American spirit, and the idea that, hey, you know what, we need to stop listening to government, and we need to make sure that we're thinking for ourselves, we're thinking critically, we're not listening to the media, and we are actually self-sufficient as Americans are supposed to be. So I don't know. That's just some thoughts on that. I'm telling you right now, what is being done in collusion between the government, agriculture, the FDA, the media, it's absolutely insane. We're being manipulated. And what's even crazier is so many people buy it, man. And it's also a little crazy when you think about it, how, it used to be the Democrats that were saying some of these things, like big pharma, big ag. And I just would roll my eyes. The military industrial complex, I would roll my eyes. It was like the moment somebody says military industrial complex, I used to say this all the time in like the mid 2000s. Like, as soon as somebody says military industrial complex, I'm done with them, right? These are the same people that are now all about big ag. They're all about big government. They're all about war. They're all about the military industrial complex suddenly. And it's pretty crazy to watch. I mean, how desperate, or who would have thought? It's both two things. Number one, how desperate do you have to be as a Democrat to start rolling out Liz Cheney on your campaign trail? I mean, where did that come from? Who'd have thought that suddenly the Democrats would now be the party of Liz Cheney? I mean, it is absolute, or Dick Cheney. I mean, they're out there happy that Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney are saying that they're voting for Harris. How insane is that? Like, we even as Republicans, we didn't like Dick Cheney, right? We're like, Dick Cheney, he's a little weird. Definitely profiting off the Iraq and Afghanistan war, no doubt about it. We all knew that. And that's like one thing that we would kind of we'd throw the Democrats a bone, like, yeah, you're right about that. It's a little bit creepy. But now they're all about it. And that's what's nuts. What do we got in response to that?
Oh, so much.
Yep. I mean, it is strategic. It's nuts. This is planned. Go back up. Something about milk. Fraser Lordy. I recently had a coworker tell me milk, that stuff is going to kill you. I said, if I discounted the calories from milk, I'd be dead in 2009. Yeah. I don't think milk's going to kill you, but I'll definitely say the hormones and the different things that they're putting in it is pretty crazy. That's another thing. I mean, how crazy is it that if your neighbor has dairy cows that, like, he can't sell you, you have to go to the government and ask permission to buy a product that's produced, a natural product that's produced, whether it's eggs, milk. Now suddenly you need to be inspected by the USDA and all this other stuff. All these things that, again, are a part of this big strategy to make sure that you're putting nothing but poison into your body. That's really what it is. Yeah, I think when it comes to all the terrible things that we put in our body, milk is the least concerning, although I have pretty much gone non-dairy. And I would, there's like in Winchester, Virginia, right down the road from us, I know they have these co-ops where you can buy into these co-ops, and then you can get this raw milk. I would drink raw milk if, it was like the cows were well taken care of, and, they don't have a bunch of freaking milking machines, which cause all kinds of infections and stuff. It was like a natural process. I would definitely buy and drink raw milk all day long, not worry about it. They're going to keep you just healthy enough so that they can kill you. And that's the problem. It's like, look, the government doesn't want you to go get sick and kill yourself. That's their job. It's not that they're trying to help you. They're just jealous that you're stepping on their toes. I want to agree, but I believe you might be mistaken ignorance for malice. I look at the current administration ignorance. Yeah, see, Richie, that's the problem. You're right. What we have for politicians, and that's what we get, we conflate the politicians for the people that are pulling the strings. Look, there are people that are coming from MIT that are in the highest ranks of different three-letter agencies. There are people in these think tanks that are coming up with these policies, these strategies, and then they let these morons go out there and execute. And that's the trick. That is what has blinded us from all this, because we're like, there's no way that Biden is planning anything, or he's part of this whatever, or pulling. He's not. It's because he's not. You think Hunter Biden, or even freaking like George W. Bush, or any of these morons out there that are in there that make us, that are just figureheads for other people pulling strings, that are putting the real money, the real policies, that are pushing global policies that we're not even aware of. And this is the thing. It always goes back to that, one of those things I always remember hearing, is like, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to convince you he didn't exist. And that's it. These morons that we see out there in front of us that are supposedly our leaders, we automatically say, oh, well, they're the ones doing it. It's not. Those are morons. And the only thing that they're in it for is for the money. Then you have real string pullers that are funded by people like Bill Gates, that are a lot smarter than Bill Gates when it comes to these policies and things like that. But there are all kinds of think tanks that are filled with absolute geniuses, that are absolute radicals, that don't believe that you should make decisions for your own health, that don't believe that we should own our own land, that don't believe that we should have any of the freedoms that we have, but they know that it's going to take 30, 40, 50 years to enact policies. And yeah, the people in front of us are morons. But if we look back and we see how much ground they've gained, where we are from 20, 30 years ago to where we are today, it's pretty crazy. You would have never thought, but here's the thing. We would have never gone from where we were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s to where we are today on this ideological nonsense where, men can have babies and everything else, without a plan put in place to execute this. That didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by chance. It happened because they had a plan. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by underestimating not the people in front of us, but the people behind the scenes that are making it all happen. Yep, I posted that today, actually. 100%. Raw milk is slang for steroids. Maybe, I don't know, but I'll drink some raw milk. That's not all the poisons they expose us to. Air sanitation in the homes have statements on pesticide storage and pesticide disposal. Yeah, I mean, when you get into the Roundup and all the other GMO products and everything else that are really the microplastics, look, it's a rabbit hole that, again, I don't even want to get into because it would take so long to, like, it's something you gotta take the time to study and really go down a rabbit hole and look at some of the stuff. And that's the thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has done. Like, he's been doing this stuff for many, many years, talking about the different vaccines that we're pumping into our kids. I mean, it's nuts what we're doing to kids as far as vaccines and to ourselves and everything else, and like how little information there is on the efficacy. But we know there's definitely some major side effects that they want to ignore, but they create a mandates in law that force all these parents to give our kids this battery of vaccines that are not probably, in my belief, they're far doing more damage than good. But it's in law. So number one, that is politicians colluding with the pharmaceutical industry and saying, hey, this has to be put in place or we're going to get sick and die. So anyways, yeah, you guys are definitely bringing me down the rabbit hole tonight. Yeah, that's the thing. When we look at the politicians and the idiots in front of us, they're manipulated through greed. But the people, again, when we have these people that are very powerful, that have these global, the people that are meeting at the WEF, and so many other places like that, people that you don't see, those are the people that are enacting these policies. Those are the people that have been trying to undermine and destroy America from within for the last 40 or 50 years, and they're doing a damn good job. But the people that we see in front of us are just the pawns, whether it's Joe Biden, ultimately, honestly, even Donald Trump to some extent. But the difference is, Donald Trump is out there doing what he needs to do or what he wants to do. He's already made his millions. He's not manipulated by money. He's not manipulated by news coverage. He is out there doing what he thinks is right for the country. And that's what scares the piss out of all these politicians, because left or right, they are controlled by, with, and through sources of income that if they want to continue making that money, they have to play a certain game. Yes, I am definitely going to be doing live election coverage on Tuesday, folks. We'll just go ahead and say 8 o'clock. Let's jump on here at 8 o'clock. I'll end up making I'll end up posting it and getting that set up for Tuesday at 8 p.m. We'll probably jump on it probably like 10 o'clock with American Patriot News. We had those guys on a couple weeks ago. They'll be doing some live coverage as well. We'll probably get together and see what's happened, check in on each other, see what they're seeing at around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I don't know, we may end up being up all night, but I definitely want to see what's going on and definitely get a sense of the results, or if we're going to have results on Wednesday or not before I go to bed on Tuesday. Not that it matters, not that there's anything that we can do, but yeah, the last thing I'll be honest with you, I didn't go to bed during the 2016 election either. I'm always a politics junkie. I saw what was going on, and all of a sudden, like, around 2-3 a.m., all of a sudden, Trump's way ahead. I'm like, in the bag. And then all of a sudden we have all these different numbers coming in for Biden at the time that made absolute zero sense and just was an insult to everybody's intelligence, unless you're on the left, unless you're in the news media. then it just makes perfect sense, and you're just glad it took place. Fraud at the highest level. Willie says, since Tuesday the 5th, I will have to get my yearly watch of V for Vendetta, which is a perfect movie for Election Day. I completely agree. Well, listen, folks, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Again, we always appreciate your support. Definitely join us on Tuesday. We'll do a special edition of Dangerous Liberty podcast with live election coverage. That'll be a lot of fun. We'll see if we can't get Chris, Summer, and some other folks in here so you can hear us, talk crap to each other. Make sure you go to ParamountTactical.com for all of your Christmas needs. There's lots of great gear on there, everything from clothing. We're adding a lot, folks. There's probably about 5 new brands with multiple products that I've been testing behind the scenes that we're going to be adding to. And I'm really looking forward to it. These are some things I'm really proud of with. Probably sometime next week, we'll have some guys on the podcast from Area 419. Great bunch of guys over there. I got to shoot with one of their guys this past week. I was talking to one of their executives actually today, as a matter of fact, and we'll probably have them on next week. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. We want to continue to bring you great content and let you see some of the people behind some of these brands that we are partnered with, and I think it just gives everybody a little bit more information, and it's cool to see. I got a full interview from Zero Compromise coming out. I just finished editing most of that today. I should post that either tomorrow or the following day, but a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be a great end of the year, and 2025 is even going to be bigger. I'm looking forward to spending it with each and every one of you guys out at the range or on here or just watching our content. But anyways, until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.